Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's great to be back here. This is Vikas Gulati from Jambox Games, and we've got a very exciting panel here. We're going to be talking about the rise of hyper casual gaming. So I would encourage you all take your coffee and sit down and enjoy this talk. We've got some of the best minds in hyper casual gaming industry as well as from monetization side who are going to be talking about the landscape in hyper casual in Southeast Asia and South Asia. We'll look at some of the opportunities that we've got in the industry, and we'll talk about how you guys can actually maximize this opportunity. Obviously, the Turkish ecosystem is maybe a couple of years ahead when it comes to hyper casual gaming industry. But I think the fact that Southeast Asia and South Asia are up and coming, it presents a world of opportunity going forward for everyone out here. As I said, we've got some really great panelists who are going to be talking about it. Maybe we'll just start with a quick introduction of you guys, right? Why don't you guys go ahead with a short introduction about yourselves? We'll start with you, Surojit.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Vikas. It's great to be here. It's a privilege and an honor to be, part of this panel. And it's been great to even meet you guys, for the first time through this process. So, just a little bit about myself. My name is Surojit Roy. I am the co-founder of Firescore Interactive. We are a hyper casual games. Well, we were a hyper casual game studio. More on that in a bit. We in the last couple of years we had three big hit games that released in the hyper casual space. One of them was soap cutting, which was the first one. Then we had acrylic nails, and then we had hair dye. And during this time, we also started along in a partnership with our publishers, Crazy Labs. We started an accelerator in Mumbai called the Crazy Hub, which is a program that's designed to nurture and groom young studios. And of course, in the last couple of weeks, you may have heard that Firescore was acquired by Crazy Labs as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Surojit. That's great. And we'll talk a little more about your experience in a while. I'll turn it over to you, Masha.
Oh, thanks, Vikas. Great to be here. Amazing panel, and we have been. My name is Masha Mustakim. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alpha Potato. So we have been working with hyper casual games for about 3 years now. We have published around four games: I Feel Good, Icing on the Cake, Prank Master 3D, and Pawn Shop Master. So those are the four hit games we have been able to land. All of those games have been published to Lion Studios so far. Games have been downloaded around 150 million times as of now. We are at this moment 100% focused with hyper casual games. In our team, we have around 20 to 25 people at this moment. So that's about us, and we are based in Bangladesh.
Got it. Got it. Awesome, Masha. Over to you, Asad. Asad, you had a session, so hopefully a lot of people know you, but a quick intro would be nice for all the newcomers.
Yeah, I would definitely want to do that. My name is Asad Mahmood. I am the founder and CEO of ConsoliAds. It's an immense pleasure. Just as I had told that in my personal talk as well, that Mobidictum has done a great job in terms of this event. And again, this panel is like really interesting, always talking with people around. What ConsoliAds does is it's basically a mediation platform or a complete ads management platform to make sure that publishers or the game developers can maximize their revenues through in-app ads. And just like I said in my talk as well, that even the in-app purchase campaigns are the new thing in town, which means can we help you even maximize your further revenue through in-app purchases through ads as well. So that's something that we currently do as hybrid monetization. The only thing different for me in this session as opposed to Surojit and Masha is these guys are totally into gaming, whereas I am on the bird's eye view because I talk to a lot of publishers and developers all the time. So probably that perspective might add my 2 cents for you guys. I hope, and it's a good session for us.
No, of course, you spend great amount of time in the industry and you work with a lot of them. I'm sure we hope to tap into those insights going with that. I would actually want to kind of kick off this conversation with your entrepreneurial journey, right? Obviously, you guys are incredibly successful in your own domain. You've started early on in the hyper casual space, at least from a South Asia and Southeast Asia perspective. You've produced some incredible hits in partnership with your publishers. It'll be great for obviously Surojit and Masha, and I would love to get on your view as well, Asad. How do you see this market? So, give us a sense of what how your entrepreneurial journey has been. Obviously, we all hear about your success, but give us the interesting nuggets about what your challenges has been in your journey. What are the learnings, and what can audience take back as they kind of build their own businesses. So speak from that context. Why don't we start with you, Surojit?
Sure. So I started in gaming very, very long ago in the esports space. I was a gamer, started an esports startup while I had a job as a game designer. Then I started my first game development studio after that, which didn't work out in the end. During this process, I happened to meet my current co-founder, whose entrepreneurial journey is also very, very interesting. And he started in fantasy sports, worked in game design, and then started his own startup. So, during this journey, we've learned a lot. We've had a lot of failures. And I think one of the turning points for us was when we began working in hyper casual. Because in hyper casual, the process itself is really designed around adopting failure as a process. And that's something we learned. We took it on board as quickly as we could. And, that's kind of what eventually led to our success as a company.
So you're saying failure as a stepping stone to success. That's what you learned along the way. That you need to kind of embrace failure and then just quickly move on. Is that what the biggest learning has been?
Yes, and I'd just like to say here that generic advice is generic advice for a reason because it works. And as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, you always hear that failure is part of the process and it's not the end of anything. So, you do learn that as an entrepreneur, but the extreme nature of how hypercasual teaches that to you is something that I think is unique to our industry, and that really helped us, work better and deliver better results.
One more question before I hand it over to other guys. Like, how many failures did you have before you produced the first hit?
A lot. I think there were like so in immediately before the first hit, we had three games that didn't work out. But before that, over the course of the previous year, we had maybe 12 before that. And after that, actually, in the two hits after that, we've had like 60, 70, maybe games that we've tested that haven't worked out. So
Didn't work.
the hit rate is always like it's not amazing. You don't always get a hit with every game you try, but I think the more you try, the more chances you give yourself to succeed, for sure. And we have somebody else here who's done even more than three hit games and probably will do a lot more. So I would really like to hear his take on it as well.
Sure, absolutely. Which gives me a nice segue to you, Masha. Tell us about your journey.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, earlier, I mean, when we were having some internal discussions, we were saying like every gaming studios have gone through these like ups and downs, and every significant up and significant downs, and those downs are extremely horrific, but you have to survive them, and like keep doing until you can get to your like that inflection point, get to enjoy your success. So that's like the same case for almost all the companies, and that's amazing to see. So yeah, I started making games from around 2013. So I used to make games solo, and then like by in the end of 2015, I was able to gather around 5 or 6 people team, and we were making games mostly for like clients. So international clients, we used to work on like Odesk, Elans, and gather client works and do stuffs. And of course we were extremely motivated like to make our own products and get a success. But back then we had many in terms of skill sets and other limitations, so we were mostly focused on client work. So one of the experiments back in 2015 we focused in was making a product, but like that product would also be like we are passionate about, and that people are passionate about as well. So back in 2015, we made a game called Heroes of 71 for specifically for the Bangladesh market, and luckily it was like a mega hit in the Bangladesh region. It got around like 500,000 downloads in like organic downloads in like 4 and 5 days, completely organic from Bangladesh, and that was a very strong turning point for us. Like transform from a like a service based company to a like making games for the people. So then we kind of we were like this success allowed us to raise some fund, and back then we thought that like we have this success, so can we focus here and make games for the Bangladesh market and like be profitable here. But tried for around so from 2016 we tried around 2 to 3 years to get success in casual games, focused completely in Bangladesh market. So
Yep.
and we made a few games, and we also made a strategy game in the local context, but that didn't do well. So by the end of 2018, like so Around 2017, we were like 30 people team, and by the end of 2018, we ran out of money, and we were just like 5 or 6 people team. Like not enough funding, not sure what to do, and we're kind of exploring what to do next. And just at that moment, we thought, like let's give hyper casual a bit a try. And then like we came across different publishers, we came across Lion Studios, and we started collaborating. And after a year of trial and error, since 2018 September to 2019 September, we got our initial success with IPL Good. And we have been kind of fortunate enough to like literally start a trend with our games. Like our game was like just at the starting point of the time where the ultra casual games were coming into the hyper casual market. So yeah, that's how we started with hyper casual, and that's how we got our first success. And after that, we were able to land icing on the cake just a month after. And then after a year, Prankmaster and Pawn Shop. So these are the four hyper casual hit games we have been able to land. So now, like back in 2018, we are like around 5 people team. Now we are growing again. We are 25 people team now, and we are growing strong.
Awesome. Great
I
story,
I
Masha.
just want to jump in here and add a small note for the audience that when before we had our first hit game at Firescore, IPL Good had just released, and it was a really big inspiration for the kind of games we ended up making. So it's an amazing story, and this is the first time I'm meeting Masha um, ever.
Thank
So
you.
it's great to be here and
Thanks.
That's great.
interact.
I'm hoping your stories is going to inspire so many more people to come up with the next big hits that are going to come out of it, especially in Asia, right? Which is still young and emerging, and there are so many studios which are coming in. I'll start off with you also, Asad. Give you an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about how did you get into gaming? Like obviously you've been an entrepreneur and you've got a mediation, but why gaming? How did gaming happen to you?
Vikas, is interesting. It's the other way around. I started off my entrepreneurial venture back in 2011, quite some time
Yeah.
back. And that actually was gaming. I've been making games for
Wow.
like 7 years. I made
Oh
games for
wow.
7 years.
Okay.
But the
Yeah.
interesting thing was, at that point in time, casual simulation, these were the categories that were more in the town. Unlike
Right.
the hyper casual one, because currently the hyper casual has taken over a lot of bandwidth. But at that point in time, it was like more of casual. So why did it all happen was because monetization was something that we thought was a problem that quite a lot of people were trying to solve. So doing that with casual games, action games, and simulation games, it was like a challenge because at that time even a good content was there, but probably monetization was not. So we just tried to make something for ourselves so that we could change and update our strategies without giving any app updates. So that's where ConsoliAds was born. The learning that I would want to share, if I think that might add some value to the people as well, is primarily that focus. So number one, if you're actually the one who's trying to solve a problem, that's even better, rather than making a problem and then trying to solve it. So don't make a problem, just solve a problem. Point number one.
Got it.
Number two is when you start solving a problem, don't get afraid. People are going to bash you like anything. And I think it's productive. It's better. Let them bash you. Because if those are the people who want the solution, then they're the ones who are to talk about it as well. So let them talk about it. In fact, the more they talk about your shitty product, the more you should feel better that yeah, I have a chance to improve it because they're using. And thirdly, generally you just tend to narrow or shadow yourself with like a small target audience. Whereas I believe that sometimes there are more players involved to bring your product to success. For example, when you talk about games, we usually talk about the consumers or the users who want to play our game. However, as per my experience, whenever I teach somebody or tell somebody how does the digital apps market looks like, I usually tell them that just consider a supermarket. In a supermarket, there are aisles. In every aisle, there are products. And who puts that products? Number one. And when you go to the supermarket, you have a cart with you in which you just put down all the relevant products that you want, and that's based on some mental methodology that you have. So which means the superstore, the aisle, and the people who put those products on the aisle are very important to you as well, not only the product. So in our games, we tend to usually focus on consumers, like who's going to play our game, but we very seldom think about what does really Google Play want from us, because that's the store that puts our product. What does
Right.
App Store want from us? So I think sometimes thinking about the indirect dependabilities gain you some advantage as well. So that's more like it. For now, we are headquartered in Singapore. ConsoliAds is like a 4-year-old startup right now. We have had some good funding rounds as well. And hopefully we're going to emerge really fast in terms of this Apex side, because we are very much accessible to all these people around.
Got it. Got it. Let's dive a little deeper into the South Asia and Southeast Asia hyper casual ecosystem itself, right? Like, can you just describe the landscape in your region? Like, are you seeing what are the opportunities you're seeing? How is the developer ecosystem coming along? Like, are you seeing a lot of people who are setting up shops? Do you think they're able to kind of compete with some of the studios that are there in Turkey? Let's give a little more flavor to the audience on the ecosystem. Who would want to go first?
Okay.
Surojit?
Okay, go ahead,
Oh, okay,
Surojit.
yeah, up to you.
I'll let Asad start this time. I started the last
Okay,
time.
go ahead, Asad.
So I just share the diversity of access that I have to a lots of platforms, publishers, in
Yep.
fact, and developers. So I think in terms of, so we are aggressively working with Pakistan, India, and a few registrations from the Middle East side as well. So what we actually see is, interestingly, there are lots of big game publishers who are pointing towards this side. Why? Probably because they see talent at an affordable cost. Because in terms of hyper casual and casual gaming, the metrics are getting so competitive that you're now looking about CPIs. The lesser the CPI all the time, the more profitability that you can get. But on the other hand, if you're spending a lot on the development part as well, even that moves your equation to the other side, on the negative side. So I've seen engagement of some big game publishers. I'm not sure if I really want to name them over here, but I've seen some big ones like engagement in Pakistan. They have opened their what you call in-house tutorial lab-based offices as well, by the way. And I'm sure it's being done in India. I'm not sure. In fact, I've met a few of them in India as well. So that's
Right.
how the intent and the shift is actually telling us how these markets are evolving in terms of the interest of the bigger game publishers. Number one, because of the potential to make those games, and number two, to explore more ideas as well.
Got it. Got it. That makes perfect sense. Anything to add, Surojit or Masha?
I think Asad bhai he covered most of it. So Surajit, would you like to add anything?
Sure. So of course, like we see India as a huge market. The reason I'm sure that Crazy Labs has even started a hub with us and then eventually acquired us was because we see India as a really big market. We have a huge population here, and you know, it's not just India that we've seen, but during the last couple of years, as we've seen both the developer side and I would say even on the esports and the gaming side, we've seen a big boom in the last couple of years, especially maybe enhanced even so by the lockdowns. We've seen this great traction and this hype and a lot of talk around gaming in general in the last couple of years, and I think that's bled into, or a lot of it has come from, you know, PUBG esports and also the genesis of hyper casual in these places. And just like Asad said, the costs for the publishers are a lot lower, and the market size is really big as well.
Right.
Talent is here. We have some great engineering talent, you know, all over South Asia as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we keep hearing about the next 500 million users that are going to come out of India in gaming. Southeast Asia has got another 150, 200 million users that will come on. So 800 million users. There has got to be a big market. And all the gamers who are coming on, hyper casual really becomes the entry point for most people to kind of just start off. And then obviously all the engineering talent that we've got. So let's talk about the talent here, right? Like, do you think obviously South Asia and Southeast Asia are quite new, right? Like in gaming, a lot of the regions are way ahead. You look at US, you look at the Nordics, and obviously Turkey over the last year has picked up a lot. Do you see the talent in these countries, got talent in India, Bangladesh, and the entire subcontinent? How do you kind of get these guys to come at par? are you able to kind of easily find the talent? Are you able to nurture them? Can they compete with the global peers? Like, is that that's where I'm actually keen to hear your thoughts.
So, okay. So I'd like to go on this first. So basically, I think when it comes to South Asia, I think India is a bit far ahead of compared to some the other countries, especially Bangladesh. I think we are just starting off on gaming. There have been a few gaming successful companies like around 2009 to 13 when during the iOS gold rush. But then like when in the mobile gaming VC money and started rushing in, and like more talents and bigger companies started investing in this market, the scenario significantly changed. And in that moment, the Bangladeshi talent or the Bangladeshi entrepreneurs, I would say, back then couldn't flourish as much. And right now, like 2019 and to 20, I see a lot of talents focusing in gaming. I think like if we're talking about talents, raw talent, South Asia is full of raw talents. Like we see like CEOs coming from this region for like Microsoft, Google. So we are 100% full of talents. But the ecosystem needs to be stronger, especially as I say, I was talking about, like in Bangladesh, we don't have as many as success stories, even compared to India. So when young people, they think about career choice, this becomes a very important thing. Like, okay, fine, I want to work in games, but which company I'm going to work in? If they don't know these success stories, and if we can't build like strong success stories now, I think that retaining talents here I mean, becomes a problem. Like we have a lot of talents, but all these talents, at the end of the day, the South Asian talents go into that region. So that's one of the problems I think there is. But I think we are making progress in terms of the success stories. So yeah, so that's my take on it.
Got it. Anything to add, Surojit, there? We're pretty much
Yeah,
coming to a thing. I do want to take a couple of questions from the audience as well, but you got anything to add, Surojit, on that point?
yeah, I think absolutely what Masha said is quite it's quite like a mirror image of India. Like I would say the same thing 2 years ago. When the
Mhm.
opportunities were less, I think all the talent was mostly going to the big casual game companies, and until hyper casual became an option, and until the publishers started investing more aggressively in India, it was difficult to find these opportunities. But now I think, like Masha saying, India has matured a bit, and we now see that there's a lot of people in jobs who want to leave and maybe start their own studio, who never had this opportunity before, who can get funding from a publisher, and who can actually start something and build their own games. Just that basic joy of building your own ideas out. I think that opportunity
Absolutely.
exists today, and I'm sure, and I hope, and I'm sure that in time, in fact, I'm sure it'll be very soon, where Bangladesh and Pakistan catch up as well. In terms of how much attention is going to India, for sure.
Got it. I'm just going to move over to the Q&A and just see if there are audience questions that we can find. Just give me one sec. Okay, I don't see necessarily any specific questions at this point of time, or maybe it's not popping up on the stage. There is one question out here right now. What will be the best way to enter the market? This is South Asia and Southeast Asia. Do you recommend somebody who wants to enter the market to hire a team or partner up with some other existing teams?
I mean, that's a tricky question, and it has like multiple answers. So my take on it would be, like, as at the end of the day, hyper casual, it's game development, right? And game development has significant amount of uncertainties. It's very important to have the passion and the understanding about what you're getting into. It's difficult at the end of the day. So whether, I mean, if you can hire a team, if you know that that team is like super passionate, that the team is like you have a good chemistry with the team, fine, then sure, that can be a way. And also, if you see a team and if you feel that that team complements your weaknesses, then yeah, that's also another solution. But at the end of the day, gaming is tough. Like making sure that everyone shares that passion and willing to take the risk I mean, that is the most important thing.
So that
But
makes
yeah,
logical
Surojit.
sense, right? Like you need to have local people who understand the market, who understand news, who can manage the entire process. That's how you would probably want to do it. Now, it depends upon the DNA. When if you're partnering up, you really need to make sure that culturally both teams are
Absolutely.
pretty aligned. Otherwise, you probably want to bring them on and onboard them right from the start itself. Okay, so there is another question that we've got right now. There are internet issues in India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and we don't see government or even public sector doing anything to support the gaming industry. So there's not a lot of financial stroke infrastructure support coming in from the government. That's another dilemma. So the question really is: do you think this region can be improved solely by the game publishers alone?
I think someone
Okay.
else should take the question.
Okay. I can just try it and put in
Yeah,
some thought in
sure,
that.
Asad. Why
So
don't you go ahead? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was just like with the way we said that you guys are talking about just providing the whole atmosphere of getting things done. So it happens true with every product that we talk about. I would just want you to bring some attention to the China. How did China flourish, by the way? So it's very interesting to understand that even what Surojit is actually referring to is you just start copying. Even referring to the previous question as well, and the question by Muhammad regarding the limitations of the resources and internet stability as well. You just start by involving people, engaging them, and asking to do them some work. They do it, they copy it, then do it again, and finally they get so better that you understand the market, they understand the product.
Right.
Eventually, there's a thought process that gets evolved, and you would be start seeing so much product and so many products that it would start making sense that the market is flourishing all by itself. I think it's a very natural loop that happens to most of the places.
Anything you would want to add, Masha, Surojit, to that point?
I think Asad said it very well. I would totally agree
Cool.
with him.
Yeah. So there's another question that just popped up, and I want to cover as much as we can. How do you stay up to date with the trends in South Asia when it comes to hyper casual? I mean, I can just say there's not a lot of organized research. Even when I was compiling my presentation, and I saw Asad went through the same trouble as well. There's not a lot of organized information in gaming that you find out there. No, there's very limited amount of resources. You really need to kind of just tug along with different sources and figure out what the data looks like. But I think the best way to do it is just figure out your local teams, local partners, the guys who are actually in the business. They are probably most updated with what's happening in the industry. And I think sometimes these infrastructure issues and these challenges that kind of come along, they actually bring the opportunities along with it, because I know monetization has been such a big problem in India, and they've come up with their own solution around microtransactions, real money gaming. How do you kind of improve the monetization? But I'll let take you guys also at a dab at how do you keep updated with the trends?
South Asia is so unique, right? Like every place is so different. Like within a few hundred kilometers is like so different from from the next place. It's kind of difficult to keep a track of everything that's happening in South Asia, and I find it very difficult just to keep a track of what's happening in the trends across different parts of India. So to then track South Asia is like it's a whole different beast altogether. But it would be great to have a more one place, one stop shop maybe to go to get news on the industry and trends and things like that. As far as I know, Pocket Gamers Asia page is one of the few places that is consistently telling us what's happening across the industry, at least.
Cool. I think our time is up. Batuhan is actually telling us that they will take it over. But thank you very much. I really want to thank you all. This was really insightful for all of us. Thanks, Surojit, Asad, and Masha, for sharing your
Yeah,
insights with us.
It was a
Really
pleasure
appreciate
it was a
Same
pleasure
nice
to
to
be
be
part.
here.
Great to be here. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.